Good evening, everyone. Welcome to part two of our show for Sustainable Saturday. We had a little problem with the reception at the end of the last show, so we started a part two. We could do intros every night, yeah. We could run your intros and your outros throughout the whole evening. I've got ways of introducing things with stingers that I created that I can bring in at any time if I need them. It's entirely possible to deliver in real time, like this one. Exactly. So we've got corruption, collusion, obstruction, you name it. We got it with the Trump administration now appearing to be more like a liar than anything we've ever seen before. Holding our nation, hijacking our nation, and holding our nation hostage over the budget and the infrastructure plan, saying he's not going to do anything with the Democrats until they stop investigating him. It's not over until the fat lady sings, Donald. And I'm sorry, but we haven't heard the fat lady sing yet. The reality is the investigation is ongoing and they haven't seen all the reports. Why would he want the investigation to end? They haven't even seen the unredacted copies yet. And they haven't seen his tax returns, which he openly said during the pre-election, "I'll gladly show you my 10 years of tax returns, no problem." Never did it, won't do it. What's the problem? The problem is Donald Trump is lying. He does have dirt in his record. He does have Russian money laundering deals in the background that he did with all kinds of Russian oligarchs that bought his properties at 3 times their value. Oh yeah, that's what he's hiding. So the devil is in the details, and he doesn't want anyone to see the details, but he wants us to stop investigating, and he's holding our budget hostage. He is a liar. That's right. I agree. Let's supersize it. Give me 2 collusions, some corruption with some obstruction on the side, and let's supersize it. That's pretty much the Trump administration. Right. He doesn't realize that Mueller's special counsel fell under the executive branch. Nothing to do with the rights of the House to investigate, the legislative branches to investigate any one case of collusion. In lieu of the fact that our government had to investigate this because we know for a fact that the Russians influenced the 2016 election, which Donald doesn't want to even talk about. And he won't talk to Trump, or he won't talk to Putin about it in any way regarding the 2020 election. But he refuses to admit that, yet now he's tasked William Barr to pursue an investigation into a coup. No, Donald, this is our government doing what they're supposed to do to prevent national security breaches like the ones that are happening left and right in your administration right now as we speak. Totally ready to go. He's prepackaged his plan for the future, and somehow oversight and intelligent thought doesn't include him. He won't talk about the budget because he doesn't want anyone to investigate us. It's like, I think the guy has lost it. He really has. Or he never had it to begin with. But a person who makes these kinds of claims would have made mistakes along the way, I would think. Well, it turns out he did. The early signs of Donald Trump's megalomaniacal and narcissistic behavior were back in 1989. When a helicopter crash killed 3 of his aides. These were top supervisors at his casinos that were going to testify in a case involving bankruptcy, because Trump was bankrupting all his casinos. They were losing money hand over fist. And then 3 of his top aides die in a helicopter that he was going to be in New York. I'll give you guys a link to this story. It's still out there on the net. You can take a look at it. That's the nitty gritty on it. But what you don't know is what happened after Trump lost his 3 top supervisors at the casinos to this terrible crash in which it killed a couple pilots too. And he, like I said, he said, "Oh, I don't want to go on that one. I'm going to go on another one." And he left later on another helicopter to the same location. But those men died, and the press asked him, "What's your response, Donald?" And I remember this. I remember hearing it on the radio in California in 1989, and the guy said, he didn't say, "I'm so sorry for the loss of my supervisors. They were such good guys." He didn't say anything like that. He said to the press, and this is a fact, "Oh, this is great press." Wait a second. You had your top 3 aides die in a helicopter, and you're calling this great press? No sensitivity whatsoever to their families, to the loss of their lives. Nothing. No passion, no feeling, just this sociopathic mentality that, "Oh, this is great press." That's a quote from Donald Trump in 1989. I'm not kidding. So we saw the handwriting on the wall a long, long time ago, and now we're still being duped by this bullshit artist? Give me a break. Not going to happen. Not under my watch. We've got a country that's completely, nearly falling apart here. The red portions of this picture are all the people that are distressed. Somebody said over at iVlog, "What does distressed mean?" Almost homeless. So you're seeing all these people across the nation, and there's some areas in mid-Oregon and Idaho, areas in the middle of the country in North Dakota, South Dakota, especially South Dakota where the Native American tribes are, those 2 dots in the middle, right here. Lots of poverty. And a president who is in total denial and thinks that he's doing great for the country and isn't even aware of the problem. This reminds me of Hoover. Herbert Hoover, before FDR became president, he used to drive by the shanty towns of people living on the street like grapes of wrath. And these poor people were living in tents and, like they are now in homeless cities. And he would ignore them and go back and brag about the economy. And they called those places Hooverville in honor of Herbert Hoover and his inability to understand what the hell was going on. Trump is the same way. He has no clue as to how the people are really suffering in this country. And if you drive by any city in America, you'll see what I'm talking about. It doesn't take a lot of looking in to see the crap hole that people are living in. It's really, really sad. Hooverville, yeah. When you look at Skid Row, you're looking at an area that is so impoverished, it's beyond comprehension. And Democrats in LA haven't even put bathrooms in, and they still don't want to solve the problem. And these Democrats in San Francisco is just as bad. But look at this. The depravity of their conditions that people are living in. This is a daily life in Skid Row. It's like being in hell. Here's a guy driving around, people living on the street, nowhere to go to the bathroom, hardly any bathrooms, no water, basket cases, disabled people, people displaced from our society. I mean, this is not a country that you can be proud of, people. If you're talking about making America great again, then start dealing with this problem. Let's at least get some mobile service units in there and some bathrooms built for these people. And yeah, Atlanta's the same way. Yeah, there you go. You live in Atlanta? What's going on, man?
Streets, and then it gets worse as you go down. Like the next street is Crocker, and they sell a lot of heroin right there. Then the street after that.
Well, this is a video I'll play you tonight on the street culture. Los Angeles Heroin City, USA. We have a playlist. We'll put that in tonight. We're at playlist 1905 for the 2019 and the 5th month. Thank you. It is sad, and that's why I want everyone to know that I'm not going to sit back and ignore the homeless problem in America. It's a sign of our failing nation. We got to rectify that problem. At least get them services. And I'm not talking about making them all really rich on free money. Because I know a lot of these people don't even have an address and they can't even prove their citizenship. Now, if we could get these people an address, they could prove their citizenship, we could eventually give them basic income of $500 a month, and we will be opening up motels, U.S.-based motels based out of HUD that'll take vouchers. And those vouchers will be the government giving you vouchers or possibly money, and you'll pay $30 for a night in a motel out of your $500 a month, or $25 a night for a motel, the U.S. government motel. I'm going to make sure that we can fix up motels and put kitchenettes in them so that people can have a place to live. This is crazy. People on the street doesn't show you the prosperity of a nation. It shows you the decline of the nation. You can blame them. You can call them drug addicts, oxy heads, whatever. If you provide a campground with some tents and mobile service units, they can do whatever they want. I can't guarantee everybody's going to have a motel with a kitchenette. But I can tell you, if we don't start solving this problem, it won't get solved. And so far, the Democratic Republican Party have both failed in this department, especially the Republicans. But the Democrats are showing no progress whatsoever. We've got a displaced society and nobody seemed to care. Indifferent, displaced society. Okay, now we have a study here done by the American Journal of Psychiatry, which shows a really good promise for CBD oil and THC. Cannabinoid oil for the reduction of Q-induced craving and anxiety in drug-abstinent individuals with heroin use disorder, a double-blind randomized placebo-controlled trial. This is the stuff published just about a week ago, which tells us that definitely Jeff Sessions was wrong. Legalization of marijuana will, in fact, lower opioid use and overdose. It is definitely a solution to the trigger that they get when they have the craving. So they take some CBD or THC with their craving and it disappears. It alleviates their craving and they are able to slowly wean themselves off the heroin. That is a really good study. I'm glad I showed it to you. We lost a beautiful WWE person recently. She passed away, Ashley Mazzaro. And it turns out that, I don't believe she killed herself, by the way, but it turns out that this woman, who was also on Survivor China, she was kind of an amazing person, but she came forward and she said that she was raped by U.S. military forces when she went to Kuwait. And she was told by Vince McMahon not to report that she was drugged and raped. Now, a woman with this level of knowledge suppressed is a danger to some people's reputation. So who knows? Maybe foul play was involved. There are a lot of people that benefited from her not talking about that rape. You got to wonder. This beautiful woman who could have easily been, she was a model pretty much, and she's a star. But obviously a capable woman ended up hanging herself? Very, very strange. Women don't hang themselves. The likelihood of her hanging themselves is very, very rare. Women just don't do that. It's not a form of suicide. Usually drug overdose is what they usually do. Very suspicious. So this whole affidavit here, if you want to read about it, details how she was raped. I haven't read the whole thing, but I can tell you it's pretty bad. What I did read was enough to make you wonder. So you can read that in your own time. I'm kind of done with that story. And this tragedy, MS-13 teen gang members brutally murdered a 14-year-old girl with a bat and a machete. Maryland officials ignored ICE detainer and released the alleged killers. Following the recent arrest of two unlawfully present teens suspected of the violent murder of a young girl in Maryland, U.S. Immigration Customs, ICE, and Removal Operations Enforcement, ERO, in Baltimore again seeking to take custody of the illegal aliens through the ICE detainer process. They let them out of their custody. They were previously arrested for this murder and then they released. So apparently these people are still on the run. Talk about absolute nonsense in our military, in our police division, and our integration with ICE authorities is absurd. She died, yeah. Violent murder of a young girl in Maryland. I really don't want to get into the specifics because it's pathetic and sad. Okay, so illegal aliens killing our children. Nice. Thanks, Donald. We can blame it on Donald now because he's had 2 years to correct the problem and he hasn't done diddly squat. Are people in the U.S. military educated? Marcos, I believe that they have to meet minimum requirements for education. So usually a high school degree. And apparently you can be illiterate and still get a high school degree now. So that's about all I can tell you about educated. Okay, so we are looking for a sustainable model of the future for the world. And as you know, I am the anti-New World Order presidential candidate. So yes, stop the New World Order, vote third party. Our country is plagued by the two-party system, which is run by a very powerful group of elitists. And they've been doing their best to control us and make this the 9/11 police force around the world. Well, not only do they have us as their police force, but they also have the Vatican running around promoting a one-world government. That's right. You can read about it here in the New American. Pope Francis calls for the end of sovereignty and establishment of global government. Nice, huh? It's pathetic.
Pope Francis calls for end of sovereignty and establishment of global government. Written by Joe Wolverton, 2, J.D. Thursday, May 9, 2019. At a meeting of the Pontifical Academy held recently, Pope Francis, shown in white, advocated a policy of decreased national sovereignty and increased global unity. A shift toward globalism is necessary, he said, in order to fight climate change and other worldwide threats. When a supranational common good is clearly identified, it is...
Okay, so this is the plan of the Illuminati. They create the problem that only they can fix. So here we are, watching our world being slowly poisoned with chemtrails. And you're seeing this like right here.
And they throw it in the air and they do whatever they want, okay?
Here's an example of chemtrails being dumped in the sky above us. They're poisoning the air, and they're literally changing the climate. I know, he's part of the New World Order, Ivan, I know. They're changing the climate, and they're creating climate change issues by altering the entire atmosphere we're breathing. And they're creating weather modification, and then they're saying, oh, this problem, we need to come together to fix this problem. Climate change, which they're creating. You see where they're going with this? They create the problems that only they can fix. That's their game plan. It's not an old game plan, too, and it works. It's been tested and tried throughout history. Look at 9/11. There's evidence that that was an inside job in order to justify a war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Look at the Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor actually, the Shiloh Times talked about how Pearl Harbor was going to be attacked in a couple of weeks. Even the Hawaiians knew that the Japanese were planning on attacking Pearl Harbor. Of course FDR knew that Pearl Harbor would be attacked. He positioned all his old vessels in the middle of Honolulu Bay. None of the new vessels were there, just the old ones. And then the Japanese came by and just started wiping them out and killing our soldiers, and they ended up being eaten by sharks. FDR knew that the Japanese were going to do that because he needed the Japanese war to trigger World War involvement with Germany. You see, Franklin Delano Roosevelt couldn't get our people to stand up against Hitler. And nowadays you'd say, well, how come not? I mean, they must have known what was going on. How come they didn't do anything? There were a lot of people that just didn't want to be involved. They were non-interventionists. They didn't want to get involved in World War politics. So FDR, complicit in the whole thing, I'm going to say probably knew about Pearl Harbor being banned or being bombed. And then that automatically created the need that only they could fix. Start a war. This is how they operate. This is how they do it. So we have chemies in the sky with diamonds. This could be like a really, it could almost be like William Shatner's YouTube, where he did Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Remember that? Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I remember that. Good, little thing. Hold on. Here we go.
Answer quite slowly. A girl with kaleidoscope eyes.
Lucy in the Sky. Yeah, so William Shatner did a really hilarious takeoff on that. So this would be a takeoff on his takeoff on that, which would be chemtrails in the sky with diamonds.
Cellophane flowers of yellow and
Chemtrails in the sky of yellow and green. I'll have to work on that. Okay, moving on. I know. He used to smoke. You know, if the Iraq War was in part to get rid of an aging stockpile of weapons, I'm gonna say this, that if indeed that was the case, right, they are definitely unstable. I'm not arguing with that. But if you look back at the time in which the shock and awe occurred, there was an entire weapons cache with 750,000 tons of weapons grades explosives. 750,000 tons that was totally unguarded. You can read the history about this. And when we did shock and awe, we didn't go and defend that area that you claim that we're trying to get rid of, those weapons. We actually went to the presidential palace instead. And the terrorists who happen to still exist in Iraq managed to get a hold of those terrible explosives. And that's why a lot of civilian deaths occurred in Iraq over the past 20 years. General Petraeus openly said publicly at one point that we'd gotten rid of half of those and reduced the total of about 170,000 tons of high-grade weapons explosives. But we haven't gotten rid of all of them. So shock and awe, ironically, was not about stopping those weapons, which they clearly knew about. It didn't matter to them. They want civil violence in Iraq. The powers that be don't want these wars to end. They're fueling these wars. There's more than enough evidence that they're actually trying to create a caliphate. In 2000 and around 2010, 2011, there was talk of a caliphate. And all the different people involved were worried that this is going to be a big jihad against... all of that was propaganda coming from the CIA. They actually admitted, in 2015, they admitted to actually paying out $430 million just to finance the green screen beheadings that they claimed the Al-Qaeda or ISIL and ISIS forces were doing. So I believe that they're trying to do the same thing, and they're using the same technique that they were using before. And now I believe that this is a Zionist plan to get us into a war against Muslims yet again. And all under the plan ultimately of saving and protecting Israel. I think we've been used by people who have connections to Israel as their primary defender, and we've been used for a long, long time. When you look at Barack Obama being an AIPAC receiver and a big Zionist, you look at Donald Trump receiving AIPAC money and being a Zionist, Joe Biden being an AIPAC receiver and he's a self-admitted Zionist. You know that they're up to something where we are always protecting Israel and propping up the petrodollar. So their primary goal is just to keep this thing going and make us all fear terrorism here in America, so we'll fight it over there. This has been the plan all along. And they're not going to stop the plan. It's still going forward. I'm sure that other terrorist attacks like the one that happened in or allegedly happened in Sri Lanka, allegedly happened in New Zealand, because I still don't see any solid evidence that they happened. That's all part of their big plan. Thanks, Psycho Behavior. I'm talking about people who are not necessarily Jewish, who are Ashkenazis. Yeah. And believe me, I don't dislike Israel at all. I think we have a very strong ally in Israel. I just don't think we need to do their bidding all the time. And it certainly doesn't make sense that we would take one side in an objective strategy toward world peace. I know Donald went to Japan. He's with Shinzo Abe. They're playing some golf near Tokyo. I understand that travel with Donald is very, very sad, and for the press corps and his entire team, they're very, very, very tight, very, very unfortunate. I understand they're like traveling with an ongoing circus with Donald. Nobody likes leaving the White House with Donald because he is pissed off all the time. He's sending some weird Twitter tweets from Japan. Well, he didn't react to North Korea firing off missiles while they were there. Provocative missiles. Remember, Donald Trump supports Vladimir Putin's assessment that North Korea is nice and they don't have any nuclear weapons. They're feeding the koi right now. That's tradition. I think that's kind of cool. They're feeding the koi. That's cool. Few shot at Dreisler learning of realistic neural talking head models. Oh, goody. We get to learn about fake people and CGI tonight. Excellent. Thank you for the link. Appreciate it, chat room celebrity. As you know, we're down an op now because somebody had a problem with what I said, that I believe that I'm being censored and the people that's censoring me are making lots of money. So one of our ops decided, I'm out of here. So he just took off. Yeah. I mean, all I'm saying is these people who are censoring me are making a lot of money. I know that for a fact. But our op didn't want to believe it, so we're down an op. We take other stories, though. Okay, here's the story about RT. If you guys have links, feel free to post them anytime, like Chatroom Celebrity. I appreciate it. I can play videos of my own for my library. It's not a problem. North Korea warns no more talks until U.S. backs off impossible demands. What, like stopping nuclear testing? Like reducing nuclear arms? Okay, what's the point of meeting Kim Jong-un unless he's going to talk about reducing nuclear arms? Well, Donald was doing it only because Vladimir Putin told him to do it. He said it would help the press think that we're making progress toward world peace. Well, your Bobby Mass index is a little too high there. At least you are a little too high. I don't think praising Trump is going to get Shinzo Abe anywhere. Frankly, I think he's wasting his time praising him. If you want to entertain a raving lunatic running around bragging and complaining at the same time, and that you're going to make some progress there, then I could take you to a few mental hospitals. You could work as an intervening helper. Sexy Melania arrives in Japan, really. Let's take a look. The look of Melania. Well, that's not her, that's the double. No, that's Donald's double. She doesn't usually travel with him. She has a double that looks just like her. Yeah. The look of Melania is in your eyes tonight. No, that's not Melania. But it could be, I don't know. Yeah, possibly. I don't see her, I see him. Yeah, I think it could be. Yeah. Okay, thank you for that link. I can't wait to see more of it. All throughout the evening I'll be looking at that. Wondering, is that really Melania? Oh yeah, Trump tweeted 3 hours ago that North Korea was shooting off, quote, small weapons, unquote. Belittling the show of force from Kim Jong-un. Wow. Okay. Well, at least he's not threatening Kim Jong-un anymore right now. That's a good thing. Yeah, the entire Trump staff said that it's like traveling. It's difficult to travel with him because he's so erratic and bombastic and constantly barking orders. It's just, they dread having to travel with this guy. Okay, here's a bipedal robot that makes front door deliveries after being transported to the curb by a self-driving car. Okay, I get that concept, except I'm not seeing it. She's making a phone call. Hi, it's good. I'm not on low supplies. I have an exam, 2 papers due this week. No time for shopping. What do you need? And Dad's like typing it on his ThinkPad. And he's like, okay, honey, I'll just order it for you. And then they package it. And they put it all together, and the robot takes over. The Ford auto-driving delivery system arrives at her door. Yeah, sure. Okay, that's an animation. That's not a real thing. And we're supposed to integrate with this. Oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah, I'm digging this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's clearly a CGI. Oh, isn't that special? Thanks, Dad. And give me a high five to the robot. Oh, yeah. The good closer. I'll put that in the lineup, too. Jeez. Who doesn't want a robot delivering their package? I hope she got what she wanted. Well, isn't that super special? All right. Good night on that one. Yeah. Yeah, well, you stay ripped. You just remain ripped. And according to Ivan, Duterte is ordering Canadian trash returned. Dump the dump dump. Dump the dump. Dump that trash. Upset, Duterte orders Canadian trash returned or dumped in territorial waters. Whoa, he's really, that's a real big threat. He's going to dump the trash in the ocean. Oh, he's a tough guy. Whoa. He's really strong. He can dump trash in the ocean. Mr. Duterte, tough guy. That's ridiculous. Canada needs to send over a few tugboats and tug that back to Canada. If I were in charge, I would do that. It would minimize the problem. And, we really don't need Philippines attacking Canada. I mean, this is ridiculous. Just take the garbage, okay? Trudeau? Well, I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better there. Anita's suffering from terrible kidney stones. They found that her kidney stones have been forming as a result of too much protein in her diet. So she's getting a whole new diet together, and she's doing pretty well. She's on turmeric and ginger, and she said they noticed some improvements. No, it's not really a new product, David. It's just my hair. It's sitting on my head. Yeah, it's just part of the new look. Every day is new. We have the ability to control the look of my hair. Yeah. It's just not just me, it's the entire lab that works behind the scenes. Yep, we're definitely dealing with a lot of problems in the world, and I think mellowing out is the best way of dealing with problems. I don't think we need to get all freaked out about Donald Trump's attempt to start a war with Iran, although he is bringing 1,500 troops over there, which I think is a mistake. And we aren't necessarily going to trip out until Oh, that's good. Until we actually see him go over the edge. Now, if they do fire or charge felony charges against William Barr, which they probably will, and same with Mnuchin, and both of those people have to be switched out with new people while Trump deals with that fact, they can assemble the impeachment hearing during that time period as they charge those two men with crimes, which they are committing by not releasing the records of Donald Trump. Yeah, we're always looking for new news. Hey, a federal judge in California halts Trump's plan to build parts of the U.S.-Mexican border. And you know, somebody said, David, what would you do if a federal judge stopped you from building the container fence in the California sector? I would simply drop legal papers and charge them with intervening in a border issue. And I would bring in the Border Patrol in mass to create a human barrier. While we build the necessary survival area for the Border Patrol, it would include the fence that I'm talking about. So it wouldn't be a big problem to bypass a federal judge in California if they were to stop us at any one point. We just simply have to create the reason for our Border Patrol agents to have housing, and voila, we build in container homes for our Border Patrol agents. Every one of these could veritably be a container home for a Border Patrol agent. And we need that anyways, so it does fit the same modality of creating a border fence either way. Problem solved. That's a simple way around the big problem that Trump created when he declared emergencies in states that are not emergencies. So there's all kinds of legal wiggle room for a lot of federal judges to manipulate the situation. Trump can't justify having an emergency when he doesn't have an emergency. He's literally lying about an emergency right now. But the longer he waits, the more he creates an emergency. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, I think we're pretty much down to the bottom line here. Right. There's a lot of cover-ups in our government, and I talked about police corruption in our country right now. This typifies that right here. This happened a couple days ago. According to this, police says a teen killed herself with a gunshot through her mouth while her hands were cuffed behind her back. I won't tell you any more of the details because that's pretty much it. She was cuffed and put in a car and then somehow managed to get a gun and put it through her mouth with her hands behind her back. So obviously she was killed. An innocent teen was killed and they're covering it up. So that's a pretty sad story. There's a lot of stories like that in America right now where people are being taken out for no apparent reason. Yeah. Now, Misanthropy is not in here right now, so I'm going to give you guys a link that could get you a pretty cool game. Yeah. And I just got this link from him the other night. It's kind of like, wait till the end of the show and maybe Dave will give us a cool link. Yeah, but this came from Misanthropy last night, and this is pretty cool. It's basically a way of downloading Sims 4 for free for a limited time. That's right, and you can play Sims 4 right now for free and have that running on your computer with no cost whatsoever. All right, thank you very much. Hope you enjoy it. Yep, enjoy the link, whether you want to do it or not. I don't know if I'm going to order it, but hey, it's good to know that other people are interested. Yes, try to eat organic, avoid pesticides and chemicals. They've proven that definitely helps. Okay, Howard Stern said that Trump needs psychoanalysis. I think Trump needs a little bit more than psychoanalysis, but that's nice of Trump's friend Stern to say that. Hey, thank you, Petoro, for coming in. Thank you, everybody. We are always, going to be there with link sharing. So you guys, if you have links, I appreciate it bringing them in. It's always good to have them. I am going to sign off right now, but this is the beginning of the video segment of our show. That's right. We're doing everything we can to stop the New World Order. Thank you for coming in tonight, and we will be back Monday with a Conspiracy Monday. Here's a taste of what's to come. Take care.
State-sponsored terrorism, the power of the deep state, false flags, COINTELPRO, MK Ultra, government meddling in personal affairs, our privacy under attack. Fight back, America. Build this third party.
There is ample evidence that a concerted effort is going on to propagandize and control the political views of the American people. Their primary goal is to disarm the American people and to lead us toward an imminent fate that they see is the only way out, a new world order. Well, we say no. I support the nation-state model, and I support everything this organization is trying to do. I'm David Sponheim, and I support this message.